Tensions in the Middle East are once again in sharp focus as Iran lays down a stringent set of conditions for re-engaging in direct talks with the United States. In a move that signals both a potential, albeit narrow path to diplomacy and a hardening of its position, Tehran has presented Washington with three core demands alongside a list of non-negotiables. Today, let us break down what these conditions are, the deep-seated historical context behind them, and what this means for the future of our volatile relationship. So, what are these three conditions? First, Iran is demanding a guarantee of no future attacks on its territory or interest. This comes in the wake of several high-profile incidents, including targeted strikes on its nuclear facilities and the assassination of key figures, which Tehran has blamed on Israel and, by extension, its American allies. Second, Iran insists on what it terms to be mutual respect. This is a broader, more interpretive demand, but it fundamentally calls for an end to what Tehran perceives as a US policy of regime change and what it calls economic terrorism through sanctions. It's a call for Washington to deal with the Islamic Republic as a legitimate and sovereign power. And third, a condition steeped in history, a US acknowledgement of past mistakes. This harks back to decades of grievances, most notably the 1953 CIA-backed coup that overthrew Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh and installed the Shah. For Iran, this isn't just about rhetoric. It's about resetting the very foundation of the relationship. But perhaps what's most significant is what Iran has declared off limits. Tehran has unequivocally stated that its ballistic missile program is non-negotiable. Iran views these missiles as a critical component of its national defense and a deterrent against regional adversaries like Saudi Arabia and Israel. This has been a major point of contention for the US and its allies, who see the program as a threat to regional security. Furthermore, Iran is demanding compensation for the physical damage caused by strikes on its nuclear sites. This is a direct financial and political demand aimed at holding its adversaries accountable for covert actions that have sought to undermine its nuclear ambitions. Now, to understand the weight of these demands, we have to look at the recent past. The 2015 nuclear deal, or JCPOA, saw Iran agree to curb its nuclear program in exchange for the lifting of international sanctions. However, the US withdrawal from that deal in 2018 under the Trump administration and the subsequent maximum pressure campaign has created a deep well of distrust in Tehran. From Iran's perspective, it upheld its end of the bargain, only to be met with further punishment. The current US administration under Donald Trump has expressed a desire to return to a diplomatic path. But these new conditions from Iran create a significant diplomatic hurdle. Accepting these terms wholesale would represent a monumental shift in the US foreign policy. The international community is watching closely. European signatories to the original nuclear deal, France, Germany, and the United Kingdom have been urging both sides to return to the negotiating table. However, they also share concerns over Iran's ballistic missile program. Meanwhile, regional powers are on high alert. For Israel and some Gulf Arab states, any dialogue that doesn't address the missile program or Iran's regional influence is seen as deeply problematic. What we are witnessing is a high-stakes geopolitical chess match. Iran's leadership likely feeling emboldened by its advancing nuclear program and shifting global dynamics, is attempting to dictate the terms of engagement. For the United States, responding to these conditions will require a delicate balancing act between a desire to de-escalate and the long-standing security commitments to its allies in the region. The path forward is fraught with challenges. Is this a genuine, if ambitious, opening for diplomacy, or is it a calculated move by Iran to appear willing to talk while setting the bar impossibly high? The coming weeks will be crucial in determining whether this is a prelude to dialogue or a marker for continued confrontation. Now, the question of acknowledgement is, how can a nation like the United States formally acknowledge past mistakes like the 1953 coup without settling a precedent that could impact its relationships with other countries where it has intervened? Is a symbolic gesture enough, or would Iran require a more tangible form of admission? And if we redefine the mutual respect, Iran's demand for mutual respect goes beyond diplomatic pleasantries and touches on the core of US policy, including sanctions and support for opposition groups. What specific concrete policy changes would the US have to make now to meet these conditions? Is it realistic to expect any US administration to abandon these long-standing foreign policy tools? The non-negotiable deterrent is that Iran considers its ballistic missile program essential for its defense, while the US and its allies view it as a primary offensive threat. Can there ever be a successful negotiation when one side's deterrent is the other side's unacceptable threat? Is there any creative diplomatic solution that could bridge this fundamental security dilemma? Now, if we look at the compensation and accountability, Iran's demand for compensation for strikes on its nuclear sites introduces a new dimension of financial and legal accountability for covert actions. This demand were to be seriously considered. If this is considered, how would one even begin to verify the culprits and assess the damages for actions that were by their nature clandestine? What would be the implications for international norms regarding covert warfare? The future of the JCPOA framework, given Iran's current hardline stance, is that the original 2015 JCPOA is now obsolete, is it? Are these new conditions an attempt by Iran to fundamentally rewrite the terms of engagement, moving far beyond the scope of the original nuclear deal? If so, what would a JCPOA 2.0 that addresses these new realities even look like? Think about it. For more updates and deep insights, keep watching The Global Eye.